Hello there everyone, this is Iron Mark 3 and welcome to an Ionian Arms refit workshop upload video. In this case it is Legionaries Land Cruiser AAR version, which has gone spiraling so far out of control I don't even know what to say about it anymore, basically. Anyway, I was given the original Land Cruiser with the brief of please redo the hull and give it advanced cannons. Yeah, I think I've succeeded in that. I've redone the entire hull, top to bottom. I've touched practically 95% of the blocks that were present and rearranged them a bit. I've torn out and redone practically everything in this thing. So it's an AAR refit. It's the same basic shape of the original one, but it's like it's also changed rather drastically as well. Anyway, let's walk you through it. Now, the original version is a Land Cruiser, and it was a big tracked vehicle, and it wasn't working. So that was the other part of the request, like get it working, get it moving. The problem is, from the depths that has put in the like 20 wheels per vehicle maximum to deliver power thing, which is I think is really silly. Not happy about that. But because of that, bigger, heavier land vehicles really struggled. And the original Land Cruiser was all but crippled by that same change. So I thought, hey, let's go ahead and convert it into a hover vehicle instead. So it's now a hover platform. This makes it amphibious. It's low hanging, so you know, it's just like floats around quite happily. Doesn't like hills when it's on land, but hey, you can't have everything, can you? On the right side, though, it's actually faster than before in a straight line, but it's a Land Cruiser. It's kind of slow. It's kind of not very maneuverable. Top speed is only like 32. And it's definitely sluggish to move around, but that's because it's more of a fire support slash a mothership style design in its overall function. It's not meant to be on the front line, it's meant to be more of a support vehicle. Though it's definitely got the firepower to be on the front line if it needs to be. So, let us continue. As you see, massive banks of thrusters underneath, keeping this metal box in the air. And I spent so long on this design. It's the first design I really just went, you know what, heck with this, go all out, just give it details, 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 and more details. Add all the details. And it's produced some, it's very different from my usual vehicle fare. It's got a lot of stuff worked into it. So that's why its appearance is like that. The front of the craft, I've extended the front of it out a bit and changed the original windows to glass blocks. As you can see, I've got a fall detection system mounted in there as well. We'll show you the inside in a little bit. I took the originally fixed mounted laser cannons on the front, and they are now separately turreted. So these little guys act as point blank high precision weaponry in the forward firing arc. So quite dangerous because there's now 3 of them too. And then of course I customized the appearance a little bit as well, so a bit of a steam turbine in there and odds and ends like that. Let's just keep on going. Its other sub-weapon, as well, as you see, it's got like 5 different AI systems in it now. The support weapons, that controls the lasers, but it also controls these point-blank autocannons as well. And it's got 8 of these little autocannon turrets just studded around the craft, 4 on each side. So that is another form of light craft defense slash just raw damage dealing, that kind of thing. The weapon system of the original craft was a big missile rack covering the top of the craft. I tore it out and reworked it into 3 separate pods, which now fire an even mix of high explosive missiles, EMP missiles, and fragmentation missiles in one massive volley. So these 3 systems just kick out a massive amount of firepower very quickly if an enemy gets within about 1.5 kilometers. So it's kind of like a go away, I don't want you here kind of weapon. So that's what those things do. Forward and reverse thrusters mounted in these engine pods on the side. There's only 4 reverse thrusters and 4 large, 8 small in terms of forward thrust like this. So that's also why it's a bit sluggish overall, but it's definitely got full mobility. And then it's got these big banks of thrusters on the sides for turning, along with some recessed and hidden big thrusters in here, as you can see. So there's one there. Okay. That's that. Next up, for support and detection, as you can see on the outside, I've got multiple detection systems installed. I've got some side-mounted things here, which is just basic IR and radar. In the front, I've got gimbal cameras, straight camera, coincidence rangefinder, laser rangefinder, things like that. So it's got plenty of forward detection. On top, I've got this slowly rotating radar tower, which has radar, infrared, and camera tracking systems built into it. And the radar gives it a bit of radar range as well, but not much. It's really small, really low. Then on the back here in this control tower, which has got me just sitting in there. Hello, I can see you. There is the rest of the detection systems. A mixture of cameras, lasers, gimbal systems, infrared. You name it, this thing's pretty much got it. So lots and lots of detection systems are built in. Nothing's going to be sneaking up on this guy unless it's a submarine underwater. It can't detect things underwater. Apart from that, though, you're good. You're covered. Everything is here. Anyway, moving on. What's next on the list? I think something on the outside, it is going to be the weaponry, which is the primary long-range punch in the form of advanced cannons. These guys are pretty accurate, mostly pretty fast-firing. Just directional advanced cannons fitted with squash head munitions, so they're kind of like an anti-armor fire support weapon. They also have restricted firing arcs, by the by. All the weapons have restricted firing arcs to keep the craft from shooting itself, so there's no need to rely on the failsafes. Right, these guys, these smaller ones are 150mm. They've got a limited firing arc along the sides, which is like that, so fairly good. At the back there is another one of these guys which can actually spin around like 270-degree rotation. So the back's got its own separate cannon. On the front there is a massive double Gatling turret. It's also chambered for the 150mm squash head cannon rounds, same as the smaller cannons, but it fires them a lot faster. So this is the main assault firepower of the vessel. If you get close enough, this thing will just pump lots and lots and lots of shells into you. And you'd better be prepared because it's not going to take any prisoners. It's just going to keep shooting, basically. Then lastly, to help deal with bigger, heavy armor targets, on the top here, we've got a slow-firing, treble-barreled cannon turret, which is actually ridiculously small. It's also, but because of the size, it's slow-firing. It's like 25 to 30-second reload time, something really ridiculous like that. But it's 3 barrels, each one firing a 400mm squash head shell. So this thing is supposed to hit big, tough targets and then just blow massive holes in their armor, which is then exploited by the smaller 150mm, the missiles, and then eventually the backup support weapons if it gets close enough to be engaged by those. So yeah, this thing is one heck of a can opener. Its main drawback is just flat out the low rate of fire. But it's got all-around vehicle coverage, so it can shoot anything that gets within its reach, which is not too shabby. Lastly, there are 2 more features on the outside of the craft to cover, and then we can wander inside to have a look at the interior layout. I said I'd gone overboard, just like tuning and building this vehicle and customizing its appearance. I was not kidding. I've actually built an interior for this thing for once. Anyway, first off, as you can see here, there's access to the upper decks for people. It's like these big armoured slabs, but when I move, they actually slide down into position and lock in place. So there we go. We have got twin hinged doors there, leading up to the conning tower. And when the vehicle comes to a halt, these doors will automatically swing back open again. They're keyed to spin blocks, so they react to your vehicle dropping below 2 meters per second, which is effectively stationary. Then the doors open. If you go above 2.5, they decide you're in motion and swing closed. So yes, there is that. Then here's the big party piece on the outside of the craft. This is the main boarding ramp at the back of the craft. As you can see, it's got rubber block, it's got stairs for when it's on land, so it doesn't bump on the ground. Things like that. But I like this because it's actually a complex door system. Let me throttle up and show you. So that swings up, right? The locks slide in, and the topping cap just closes down to seal the entire thing in. And then this is a many meters thick metal armored bulkhead, effectively, at this point. Then when I hit the brakes, it reverses and slows down. So just slow down a little bit more. There we go. It all opens out. The ramp swings down, and there is the rear access hatch open once more. So, quite a fun little door, that. It's actually built on like 6 rotors to get this thing working because of how these side bits are interwoven. Like, you see it better when it's speeding up. So there goes the ramp, closes, and then as you can see, the next bits just latch in as well. So it's a big spider-like door kind of thing. And then it all just swings open and unlocks itself again, like that. So, yeah. I'm rather proud of that thing, actually. So that's quite nice. Okay, enough of that. Let's give you the internal tour. Right, this is the command seat, first seat placed. You've got a complex controller here, and a fire computer, so you can take control of all the things. Not too bad. But as you can see, this is a bit exposed, but it's not the only control station if you don't want to be up here. You can take another control station deeper in the inside the vehicle. Now if we go down here, we've got the ACB's rotors on these side doors, and back here we've got a primary power plant, which is like about just shy of 2,000 horsepower, very high fuel efficiency. This provides most of the power when the vehicle is not in motion, so this will keep it in the air, keep it moving at a steady pace, that kind of thing. And that's about all it can do, just keep this vehicle airborne. Anyway, moving on, let's go down, 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 and here is the other engine bay that I worked in. Let's put away my minigun for a moment. Yeah, okay. So here we go, this is the other engine bay. It's got 2 engines, which are symmetrically built, higher power output. They're still twice the efficiency of the original Land Cruiser's engine, but they are pretty powerful in their own right. Got some supplies and things, but they are, as I said, they are less efficient than that other engine up there in the main control tower. So these guys are rigged to some ACBs. They lose most of their max RPM if the craft is not doing anything. So when there's no need for their raw power, the ACBs cut them out, and the craft runs almost entirely on that engine you saw up the stairs. Then when it needs the power, it just kicks them back in again. So yeah, it uses these for when it's in motion or in combat. If we move back here towards the entrance, we've got the primary ammo and fuel storage reserves, just worked in behind these windows, and they are encapsulated in their own sealed bunkers of heavy metal plates for added protection. But this is where all of the craft's fuel reserves are, and a fair chunk of the ammo. So in these 2 silos here. Moving back further, we've got 2 fair efficiency fuel refineries, which this craft uses to produce additional fuel reserves, serving it as its mothership style role. And that is also where all the smoke is coming from the smokestacks venting from these refineries. So that's those. Right, turning around, moving forward. Going past the stairs and the engine, we are now in the primary material storage bay. This is where materials are kept, raw materials and things like that, just pumped into these silos here and held onto. And then opposite here are the various AI systems that control the weapon systems, detection, gear, and stuff like that. So as you can see, they've each got their own individual armoured housing, heavy EMP protection, and things like that, just mounted in the side of the craft over this way. If we move forward, we've got the ammo controller, which supplies the cannons. We've got the internal repair drones here, which allow the craft to repair itself. And we've got the backup control system here, which is a comfy seat, complex controller, fire computer. And it's just sitting tucked away here against a 3-meter thick metal bulkhead. So it's got a lot of protection in all directions, except for forward. Which is not actually as bad as you might think, because there's another rotor block involved. Anyway, moving on. A little bit more material storage, resource harvesting, which goes through this gap in the floor, so this thing can harvest at least some resources from any resource deposits it comes across. Not massive amounts, but you know, it'll do it. Then if we come forward, we've got the forward galleria, where we can get this big view out of the front of the craft, and we've got some detection gear here as well, that kind of thing. Anyway, that's all of that. Mounted here inside another reinforced bunker is about half of the craft's ammo reserve, because it needs more ammo to just keep up the missiles and things, because a lot of missiles like that, they take a lot of ammo, so, you know, it needed more ammo. And there we go. Oh, I forgot to mention, above the engine bays, there is actually ammo processing systems as well, mounted up there. And they kick in when the ammo reserves drop too low, but other than that, they just, they're just not doing anything. Lastly, I mentioned that there was something else to help protect, because there's not much coverage for the secondary pilot position and the interior of the vehicle from the front. And that is this, a big, heavy armor plate, which is actually mounted to a spin block. So if an enemy comes in, this plate will swing down and seal off this area, seals off the front of the craft. So this is an entire wall of heavy metal armor, meters thick, and it'll just help protect against anything that might try to come through that window and just smash it down the center of the craft. So there we go. And that has been a complete walk around of the Legionarie Land Cruiser AAR. This has been an unusually long video for one of my AAR uploads, or my workshop uploads in general, but, well, there was a lot to go over here. This craft is actually pretty complex, and it's a mid-sized craft, to be fair, but it's multi-purpose, multifunction, and it's got lots of stuff. As I said at the start, you can find the workshop link down below if you're interested in taking a peek at this thing, and yeah, there's not much more to say about it. Oh, actually, I almost forgot. We've also got the vehicle's PID set is here, embedded in this armor plating, and there's EMP protection behind it. Kind of important that it keeps the entire darn thing in the air. But yeah, that's where the PIDs are in the side of the craft. So yeah, that is literally it. I can't believe I almost forgot the PID system. Oh well. This has been Iron Mark 3. Thank you all very much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed having a look at the Legionarie Land Cruiser, Ionian Arms refit version. And I'll catch you all some other time. See you all later.